what happened in Chibok and Dapchi and Kagara should have taught a lesson, especially for states around Niger, Kaduna, Zamfara. They should have noted that those areas have become an area that has been being ravaged a lot. And so some measures should have been taken in terms of physical security of that place, and then backing it up with electronics devices. Cameras would have been very useful. And the cameras these days are those that you can even connect, monitoring even at the state capital. So, and they're not expensive. I don't see any reason why you cannot deploy like $500,000 to put cameras around that area, surveillance cameras. And the commissioner of police or the state police command, or the local government or the divisional police or area command should be able to be monitoring all these things to be able to react as quickly as possible. It's just simple nonchalance and dereliction and the lack of accountability, because we know nothing happens at the end of the day.
The Safe School Initiative is internationally acclaimed. Countries like Pakistan have tried it, and it has worked for them. Now, in 2014, we endorsed that initiative, but we have not implemented it. And because we've not implemented it, one of the most critical sectors in our economy is suffering. We cannot go anywhere if this continues. Some of us can afford to send our kids to private schools that perhaps will have better protection. But the majority of Nigerians rely on these public schools. Now, how many parents in this circumstance will allow their kids to go to school? There are three components to the Safe School Initiative. The school premises itself, that's the physical security in the school, then the residents inside the school, and then the community where the school is domiciled. Now, before you even do that, you need to do an audit around the whole country and identify the schools that are vulnerable.
All right, now those were excerpts from our conversation yesterday on the Kagara school mass abduction. Today, of course, we are returning to that subject and discussing the larger question of the protection of soft targets. As we did yesterday, we are having our correspondent, Abdullahi Mohammed, who is at Kagara. Abdullahi, good morning, and of course, good to have you. I see that you're all dressed up today. Perhaps it's chilly, because right here in Abuja, it's pretty cold. What is the situation in terms of the weather, and what are you hearing about the abducted pupils and staff?
Just like I told you yesterday, right now I'm in the premises of the Science Secondary School here in Kagara. Obviously, you see, I am shaking. And just like I also mentioned yesterday, I am wondering how the children out there in the bush what they will be going through right now. Before I arrived here, we got the feelers that some students that were kidnapped have escaped, and then I quickly put a call through to one of our sources of information at Kagara in the town itself, and then he told me that he got the information too, but it's not confirmed. And then on arrival here, if you look at behind me here, you see some staff of this secondary school standing there. I spoke to some of them. I asked them whether they have heard anything like that. They said yes, that they got calls from people trying to confirm from them if there's anything like that. And you know, if something like that has happened, I think this place might be the second place that this information will come if a student escaped from that bush. First of all, the student would like to contact his parent, and then secondly, his principal or teacher to narrate how he escaped from that bush. But on getting here, we found out from them that they said that they've not gotten any information pertaining that.
We also hear that interface with the kidnappers is imminent. What are you hearing about that? Is there any possibility of establishing contact, with the abductors at the moment?
If you watch the conversation between my colleagues Hamis Rogo yesterday with one of the top officials of Niger State government. There was a kind of body language telling us that they are fully in contact with the bandits and negotiation is ongoing, but precisely the top official was not opening up to say exactly that this is what is going on, that maybe in so time and so time they will be able to say that these boys will be released. But definitely looking at his body language tells you that there is an ongoing negotiation, and I think they're confident that something positive is coming out of that conversation or negotiation that they are having.
What is the mood like now in the town? We know that this is, of course, a very trying situation for the parents and indeed other residents of the town. What are they thinking? What are they saying to you?
I have spoken to so many of the residents yesterday, especially from, let's say, 24 hours earlier. What they told me is that what they are seeing in terms of coordination of security is unprecedented. And yesterday, while we were on live from there, we have shown visuals of the number of people that always gather by the police station to show their solidarity, appreciating what the security agencies are doing. In the morning yesterday, we saw a huge number of security operatives, the military, the police, and of course, the residents of the community have volunteered, so many of them. They collaborate with the security agencies. In the morning, they left into the bush, and they've been there all through the day until around 6 p.m. in the evening. We saw them coming back. If you see them, you'll understand that they've gone through a lot. They were, dust all over them, and if you see their body language too, you'll understand that it's not just a normal patrol that an ordinary person, a faint-hearted person, can go through. So the security agencies are doing a lot. They're doing so much, and the residents also are appreciative of that, and they are always out there in solidarity with what is going on.
There is this information that the kidnapped students and their abductors have been located somewhere in the forest. Has that been confirmed?
That has also been that information has also been going around, but almost all the people that we have spoken to could not confirm that is true.
Tell us something about the terrain in and around Kagara. We'll keep hearing forest. Is the area hilly, or is it a flat land, or what? What is the geography of the place like from your knowledge?
Actually, anywhere you are standing in and outside, outskirts of Kagara, what you'll be seeing is rocks. It's a very hilly environment, and in some places bushes. And I think that kind of situation gives room for the bandits who understand that terrain very well to operate. But we know what they are using is motorcycles. Yesterday we saw that the security agencies were also provided with motorcycles, at least for that to be a match to what they have, and for them to be able to also go through the terrain and then be able to meet up with them. It might become anything can happen.
And how is the state government taking the situation? We understand also that the state government has been ramping up efforts, to ensure that the kidnapped students and teachers are released. What is new about what the state government has been doing?
What I can tell you right now that it is new that we have seen is the coordination, is the number of security agencies that we see coming into the town, converging on the police station, the only police station in Kagara here, and then, putting themselves together, putting out their strategy, talking to themselves, I mean, sharing the kind of approach they want to put out there as they go into the bush. And I think that tells us that somewhere in the state government, the federal government, there's a lot of push there for them to make sure that they go into the bushes and then do their best to be able to release these boys.
Abdullahi, let us know, does Kagara have a traditional head, and if so, by what title? Is he a town head, village head, or an emir? And assuming there is one, and he has a palace or a home in Kagara itself, what is the view out of the palace, and what are the people doing around the palace at this time?
Of course, Kagara has a Seriki. We've been to the palace there, but unfortunately we were told that the Seriki himself is not feeling fine. He's hospitalized, and that is the reason why there's not much activity at the palace.
Thank you for the information you've just given us. If need be, we may return to you in the course of this program. And what Kinsler and I raised earlier on was the fact that the school appears to be dilapidated to a reasonable extent. And from what is in your background, we can see really that the school actually needs a touch. And of course, what has happened is an indication that many more schools could be in this kind of state. But that's by the way. Thank you indeed for your contribution.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Kirian, you can see our correspondent there, Abdullahi. It's a chilly environment. We do hope that he can help himself with a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, after staying out there in the cold. We really appreciate him. And we also probably would return to him once there is any update. Now, we are having our guests to start off this conversation segment. Let's welcome Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu, who is a retired Group Captain. He's a security and defense consultant and an expert in safe school declaration. Group Captain Sadiq, delighted to have you this morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning, viewers.
From our Lagos Network Center, I would like to welcome Aliyu Umar Babangida. He's CEO, Goldwater and Riversand National Security Solutions and Resource Consult. Aliyu Umar, delighted to have you this morning.
Now, joining us from Lagos via Zoom is Dr. Ona Ehomu, President, Association of Industrial Security and Safety Operators of Nigeria. Dr. Ehomu is glad to have you this morning again.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kieran. Good morning, and good morning to Honorable Kingsley also.
All right.
Thank you, Dr. Ona Ehomu. Let's see if we can go back to Aliyu Umar Babangida in our Lagos Network Center. Aliyu Umar, another soft target, another mass abduction, and we are back to the usual search and rescue, negotiations, and of course anxiety amongst the parents and relatives of the abductees. What do you think?
Yeah, indeed it's unfortunate, but it wasn't unexpected. I have followed incidents around Niger State because I have a bias for Niger State, being from Niger State. And I can tell you what happened at Kagara could easily be traced to an indicator which happened some months ago at a place called Tunga Maji in Abuja. A set of bandits actually raided that town and were plundering foodstuff and supplies from homes and shops, after which they abducted a number of females. When these bands of criminals behave like that, it means they are preparing to camp. They are preparing to set up base somewhere, and they need food supplies, and they also need people to cook their foods and meet their other needs as are informed by nature's offices. That's where the women or the females become useful. And then when that happened, from my own place, I saw a possibility that Kogi, Niger, and to some extent Nasarawa may just be attractive places from which they can sit and from there probably harass the Federal Capital Territory. So I did a lot to reach out to my governor. I got across to him, and at that point he said they were on top of it. Well, here we are. We have a situation where we have our children in the hands of these unscrupulous elements. And is it as bad a situation as it looks? Yes and no. There are indeed windows of opportunity. There are indeed weaknesses these bandits have shown openly that can be exploited to ensure that we discourage, if not totally eliminate, their inclination to take after school children. At the moment, there is a lot of air-ground liaison from our armed forces, the Air Force, the Army, the police force too. I have been on Kagara all through the night. I was there virtually. I can actually zoom in on that school, I can zoom in on that town and see much from a virtual perspective. And looking at what is happening at that particular spot right now, it's a beehive of security activity, backed by also local efforts. The vigilantes are working. I also have it on good hand that the group, a set of them, has been spotted by aerial surveillance. And as at the last time I checked, coordinated efforts are being made to see how they can actually be ensieged. And having ensieged them, we see how we can extricate these children. The news that some may have escaped is not unlikely, because from what I know, as at 0200 this morning, the aerial surveillance and the search parties, as informed by vigilantes, local security agencies, has constrained their ability to move. Constraining their ability to move also affects their ability to control the crowd they have. And because they are now actually having to look out for themselves, the children, and law enforcement, their hold may be loose on their captives, and that may have informed such escapes. In time, hopefully before this day runs out, today runs out, we may begin to see some of our children just trickle in, and I'm looking forward to that.
All right, thank you indeed. As efforts are being made to rescue these abductors, let's bring in Dr. Onai Ihumu here again. Dr. Ihumu, you've actually been following the trend, so far since Wednesday when this incident occurred in Kagara area of Niger State. And so what is your take on the current situation and, of course, efforts being made to rescue the abductees?
Thank you very much, Mr. Kieran. I suggested in a release day before yesterday that they should adopt what I described as the Makama strategy. It's a hot pursuit strategy. I named it after CP and now AIG Makama when he was CP in Ogun State, when they seized some redeemed pastors, and he lined up all the hunters, the vigilantes, civil defense, police personnel, everybody, military troops, and they went in hot pursuit, did a line and walked in hot pursuit of the kidnappers, and they were able to rescue the people. And that, from what Mr. Aliyu is describing, it appears that is what they are doing now in Kagara, in fresh pursuit of the terrorists, and in an attempt to rescue the children. I mean, this is not rocket science. This is simple stuff. The guys have taken on too many captives at once. That's going to limit their mobility, their ability to move very fast. And if you have a situation where you are able to do a scour, that is search a 12-kilometer radius from that GSS, you'll be able to spot where they are. So use of aerial assets has been quite effective. That's in trying to spot the people. The fact that some of the kids are escaping, we saw escape of kids in Chibok. We saw some, we saw escape also in Dapchi. Certainly in Tankara, we had hundreds escaping. So I think the bandits, even in their stupidity and greed, they don't understand that when you take too many captives, you can't control them that easily. And that's what is playing in the favor of these kids who are getting away from the bad guys. Now, I think I want to wait. Let me just rest my comments. And I want to wait for you to talk about the subject that you said that you want to talk about, the soft target, hardening soft target, because that is so critical at this time. All of these are just search and rescue or hot pursuit efforts. I mean, these are, as far as I'm concerned, these are brain dead efforts. You, of course, when they seize your citizen, you have to go after whoever is seizing them. But why don't we prevent it in the first place when we know that the whole of Nigeria has become a soft target? I mean, it's a shame, and we really ought to do something about this.
Thank you, Dr. Onayehomo. Well, of course, we'll get into the substance of today's topic presently, but let's also hear the views of Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu with regard to the latest incident of mass abduction.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, the issue of school children abduction, right from Chibok, Dapchi, Kankara, and now Kagara, is becoming a recurring decimal. And it is high time we take a very elaborate and comprehensive effort, like the last speaker said, about prevention, about hardening these soft targets. When you say soft targets, what do you mean? Like in every enterprise, the criminal enterprise also, it wants something that can give maximum gain for minimum effort. So they go for soft target. Soft target is typically a structure which does not have its own organic defense mechanism, on which either a criminal or a bandit can strike with a very little, hope that there will be resistance and injury to himself. Everybody wants, it's a quick return and easy to this. We have seen schools. Unfortunately, the attack on educational institutions is one aspect that has become an aspect of modern conflict, right from Iraq, Afghanistan, the Malala Yusuf. From there, bandits or all kinds of criminals, terrorists, they have found that soft targets that pay much is schools. Why? Because first of all, you have a number of vulnerable children that are kept in one place that you can pick. And again, it does not have, most schools do not have organic security architecture to surround them, so you can easily pick that. And whenever there is an issue of children taking, as long as it's children, the sympathy, because we are all parents, we have children, so it's a very traumatic experience for everybody, and it generates a lot of interest. Now, having said that, again, back on what he's saying, let's look at preventive measures. There is this safe school declaration to which Nigeria has, alluded to in 2019, I think. There was a signature. Even Federal Executive Council has. What does it require us to do? After the Chibok incident, which caused a lot of this, people start looking at what can schools do, what can local communities do, what can security agencies do. Securing a school, it has multiple stakeholders. Of course, we may not have the resources to put, concrete security measures around all schools. But when we say security, people should even look at the smallest level. You don't have to be sophisticated. You start the first circle of defense for any distance is detection. Do you have something that will detect somebody coming? Detection could be as simple as having vigilant night guards, or even vigilant schoolmasters. In secondary school where there's always the duty master. He goes around with his torchlight. He could be the first person that will signal, the entry of those people there. So let's look at it simple. When you detection, then deterrence. What do I mean by deterrence? Those of us that attended local schools, you'll go and find schools, some don't even have doors. Some don't have windows. They don't have perimeter fences. They don't have lights. Criminals, by their nature, they don't like lighted places. So even those small, and again, you don't have to do all the schools in Nigeria. The reason is that there are areas where we can say all Nigeria is challenged by security now, but definitely there are areas that are more challenged than others. In those areas, we should try to do at least the minimum to put some sort of security safeguards in such schools. The last thing I would like to say before you come back to me again, I also align with them. You say the only good thing, the favorable thing that is working for security in this aspect is the number of children abducted. Like Mr. Aikomu said, if you carry a large number, that's what happened in Dapchi, you have to think of vigilance over the group. You have to think of feeding over the group, because, even to the terrorist or the kidnapper, a dead hostage is of no use. So he has to make all efforts. And again, that's what gives us a handle to them. As long as they are not able to penetrate and live far, they will not be able to travel fast, and they'll be looking for food. During the last Kankara abduction, there was credible evidence even before the children were further. Somebody went to buy kuli kuli. I personally got that information. Somebody went to buy kuli kuli in their market. This is an area, and this is where the community comes in. In a local community, the eating habits are very well known. Somebody goes maybe to buy 200 naira for his household kuli kuli. Then suddenly you see him that day coming to buy a bag, a sack of kuli kuli. That tells you that he has some people he wants to feed. So these are some of the tips that security agencies should be looking at. They will look for food. They will look for shelter. And I align with them if really they are surrounded like we had in Kankara, because they just realize they can't move anywhere. There is boots on the ground. There are eyes in the sky. That is Air Force, police, and army. The movement cannot be far. But we have to, as we up our game, definitely if this thing continues, to also be upping their game. We must see terrorists now that will split children as soon as they catch them, or they will take few, because they are also not that daft. It will dawn on them that carrying a large number is always an albatross. So finally, bringing this safe school, implementing it at the minimum level, at least in areas where there is a security challenge. And the splitting the abductees would make it very difficult, for them to be located. We hope that doesn't happen in these very circumstances. Yeah. So let's get back to Ali Umar Babangida once more. Now, two of our guests yesterday who actually spoke on this particular topic did say that the Kagara school abduction could have been nipped in the bud only if security indicators and intelligence gathering were utilized and deployed. What do you make of this?
Indeed, we have always harped on the viability of indicators. Nothing just happens out of chance. If you know what to look for, you will actually be able to either preempt, protect, or prevent, as the case may be. So there were indicators. Just as I told you, for me, Tungamaji was an indicator. It was an indicator that something big is about to happen within those neighboring areas. talking about intelligence, I have always said one thing about intelligence. The best intelligence you can have will come to no use if the end user is not intelligent. So intelligence itself is everywhere. It's right here in this studio. It's everywhere. It's to us as we are to it. It's like the ether that informs our existence or the atmosphere. But then, if you do not have what it takes to join the dots, you wouldn't see anything even if you were sitting right on top of intelligence. So basically, intelligence acquisition and what you can call law enforcement liaison with the local populace is also a function of having very intelligent mindsets in place. Just like the senior officer said, someone who actually wouldn't ordinarily need more than a handful of kuli decides to buy a bag. If there were an operative in that market and he's lethargic or complacent or outright unintelligent, that wouldn't make any meaning to him. Throughout last night, I was sitting virtually over Kagara on a global surveillance app, and I saw that very proximate to that school, about 1,116 meters, precisely 130 meters from that school, there is a T-junction that actually goes straight to a mountain range that is a gateway to a lot of what I want to call wilderness or Sahel savanna vegetation, quite a wide span. That's the closest leeway to that school, and I have this strong inclination to believe that for those men to have melted out of sight, even where Kagara town is a built-up area, that would have been their closest leeway. So you discover that for me, I started crossing and dotting my I's and T's. That's being intelligent. I also know, for example, that the average distance a human being can walk in an hour is 5 kilometers per hour. And if you have hostages and stragglers and hangers on, probably you do 3.5 kilometers per hour. So XYZ hours after the incident multiplied by a factor of 3 hours gives me how many kilometers radius I need to draw around the school. That's intelligence, but you have to be intelligent. You have to think outside the box, probably even a bit curious and mischievous to operate properly within the intelligence scenario. So intelligence abounds, it all abounds, but then the end user must actually know what to look for, how to look for it, and even when you find it, what to make of it.
Ali Umar, thanks a lot. We'll come back to you in the course of the conversation. One of the points you just made a while ago, Kirian, that's relating to how much distance an average human being can trek. I mean, for those who exercise, how long does it take you to do a kilometer? So in an hour, probably you do a kilometer. Sorry, how long will it take you to do a kilometer? That will be about 12 minutes. Now, of course, as you age, that also slows down. And to the extent that they are in a group, as he also indicated, how much control do you have? And if the terrain is rough, some of them are barefooted, so there might be some laggards amongst them. So probably 3.5 kilometers or 4 kilometers. So, Ali Umar, always a delight. Thanks a lot. But of course, we're still having you in the course of this conversation. Dr. Ona Ehomo, we have a number of soft targets around the country. How do we begin to secure these soft targets? And by the way, when we say we are securing soft targets, the essence is not to secure them from you and I or Captain Sadiq, who is here in the studios. There's an enemy out there, but the enemy is not proliferating in every nook and cranny of the country. So why don't we also see how we can probably target the enemy wherever they are in their locations before they come to meet those of us who are law-abiding citizens? What are your thoughts anyway?
Thank you very much, Honorable Kingsley. Well, the thing here, and how do we disrupt the bad guys in their situ, wherever they are? Well, I think the first thing is securing soft targets is very important. We must have awareness. We must be aware of the fact that there are soft targets, that we have them all over, and we need to identify them. We need to do risk assessments. We need to know where the soft targets are, what the threats against these soft targets are. We need to know what the vulnerabilities existing. I think Group Captain Sadiq just spoke about vulnerabilities a few minutes ago. And then we need to know what is the criticality, what is the value of the assets that are at risk, because that's going to inform how much mitigation, how much countermeasures we are going to put around those soft targets to ensure that they are not exploited, compromised, destroyed, stolen, whatever, kidnapped by some bandits from Mali. I don't know what the hell they are doing in Nigeria in the first place, but anyway, that's another story. However, I think the point here is we need to think in terms of soft target hardening. We have to understand that we have a problem in this country where we have a galaxy of threats, and we are a target-rich country. We have so many targets, soft targets all over. And so these bad guys, they are on the prowl. They are going out looking for soft targets, looking for us to exploit. And they are going to find us, whether we like it or not. They are going to find us. Mr. Captain Umar just talked about a precursor event when they attacked a community to kind of stage, get prepared. So these guys are also thinking, they are planning, they are strategic. They are not sleeping like we are sleeping. We are not doing enough about our assets. That is about the protection of assets, protection of our people. People are number one asset for anybody. So for any country, in fact, we keep touting 200 million Nigerians, yet all 200 million Nigerians are at risk of being kidnapped or whatever by these bad guys. So I think just to give a short answer, I think we need to have more awareness about soft target hardening. You see, what is happening is you hear oftentimes some government officials say, oh, these bad guys are only picking on soft targets. Well, that's the whole idea. That's why they are bad guys. They want to pick on soft targets so that they can create shock and fear. They want to create shock. They want to create fear among the populace. And like they've said on several occasions, people are now paying taxes to bandits. Levying people money to be able to go to their farms. I mean, it's getting to the point where we are losing control. In that same Niger state we are talking about, Shiroro local government, Rafi, Muye, they are all more or less 80%, at least that's the number they've given. 80% of those three local governments are under bandit control. So what are we talking about here? So I think having said that, let us just back up for a second and say that we ought to understand that we have a serious security problem in this country. Now, yesterday, the Minister of Defense came out and said Nigerians should do more to protect themselves from bandits. And a lot of people took issues with him, but I laughed. I said, no, the guy is going back to a proper model of security. He is talking, he goes back to three major points in security history. He is going back to the Roman, that's ancient Rome, where the vigils, are just free-born, free Roman citizens, were in charge of their own security. They fought crimes and fire, and we take it back to move forward in history to 1066 AD. That's with King William of England. That's Prince William of Normandy, when he conquered England in the Battle of Hastings in 1066, and brought in the Frank Pledge system with the feudal system that he introduced. And in this case, in the Frank legislature, he said that all citizens, male, 10 years and older, will form in tidings, which will report to the constabuli. And these tidings will be in charge of fighting crime in their area. Now let's move it forward quickly to 1285 AD, Statute of Winchester, which is what I think General Bashir Magachi was referring to. Statute of Winchester, watch and ward system, which said that every citizen 12 and above, that's Winchester in England, would be able to carry arms and defend his community. So there's nothing strange about that. Even Nigerian law today, I was asked yesterday, why is it that Nigerians cannot carry arms? I said that's not true. All current statutes permit Nigerians to carry arms. You just have to be licensed. That is it, either by the local government or by the COP. So what the Minister of Defense was saying wasn't bad, because that is how you harden soft targets. And of course, I refer often to the dirty war in Algeria, 10-year war, where they had to use patriots to fight jihadists who had overrun the countryside. The threat today is not in cities. It's not in Abuja city, central Abuja. It's in the countryside. It's in remote villages like Kagara and Kankara and wherever else out there. Like in Edo State, we have this same problem. So what I'm trying to say is we have to understand that soft targets exist everywhere. The awareness has to be there, and then we have to make conscious effort. The government itself has to lead the effort for citizens to take responsibility for self-protection. And that is so very important. Of course, certainly here, when we say government, we always think federal government. Federal government is not the only player here. State governments, local governments, they must get in this issue, because the federal government obviously is overwhelmed and cannot do it alone. They need help. So let us come out and help them.
Kingsley was talking about citizens, taking care of security on their own, perhaps developing some strategies to see how they can protect themselves. But in the face of the kind of operation of these individuals, these bandits, right? We need some form of arms and ammunition as well to do that. And licensed. And how many will be licensed? Because if ordinary Nigerians come for licensing of arms, I'm not sure they're going to get it. Because before you are licensed, it must be a personality, a notable personality, who will be trusted by the police to be able to be licensed. In any case, that's a good point that you have made, Dr. Ehomo. But back here again, let's return to Captain Sadiq Garba-Shehu here, talking about the soft spot. From the operational trajectory of these bandits, of course, they have discovered that schools are the major soft targets that they have. And that has been proven, from all the activities since 2014, the first time we heard about abduction, in schools with Chibok girls. Now, we have just launched 2014 Safe School Initiative. That initiative was launched, but the components of the initiative may not have been deployed in any form to see how these soft targets could be protected. Or what do you think?
Thank you very much. Before I come to the Safe School Initiative, please permit me to just add some little points on what my colleague said here. First, with Captain Omar, he spoke about incidents like this don't just happen like that. In any incident of abduction, whether it's an abduction of individual or a group of people, it is always preceded by a kind of reconnaissance. There's nobody that comes to a school and enters. Again, that's what comes with even local structures like a guardman who is trained to see one man passing and passing again and passing, paying some unfamiliar attention to a school. There's always a sort of reconnaissance, no matter how crude.
The school guard at Kagara mentioned that to us yesterday while he was being interviewed by the correspondent.
Oh, I didn't even hear that, but that is always, no abduction happens without some sort of initial recce, no matter how crude the recce may be. So please, we should also look at that. The second, Mr. Aikomo spoke about criticality of assets. A very important point. Most countries, they have a critical infrastructure security plan. First, you have to identify what are the critical. I don't think we have such a plan for Nigeria. You have to identify which one are the critical assets. Now, with what is happening, we find that schools have to be counted among those critical assets, but have a register. because it is the criticality. There could be power generation, there could be dams, everything. But we have to add schools, because schools are critical in that we put our most valuable assets, our children, in them. How many parents, how many school associations even ask about security? By now, we should have parents asking, especially those that pay high school fees to private schools. Please, what is the security plan in this school in case of abduction? What is the security plan in case of fire? And they have to be trained on it. These are some of the small things that can be done. We should not, when we say communities or citizens should contribute, we shouldn't go automatically going to carrying arms. That is part of it, but then that is at the higher end. At the lower end, there are some small things. So I come back to the self-school initiative.
Sorry, I don't know, you're coming back to that. Kirian, let's pause him. When you say, look, get, as it were, almost elementary training on security awareness, whose responsibility should this be? I mean, you cited the example. If a person previously was buying only 200 naira worth of kurukuli, and then suddenly he comes around to buy 2,000 naira worth, how does that trader get a sense that, look, this might be a trigger for something bigger? Who does that security awareness? Who does the training for the community?
It is not done, I agree with you. And we have to go to the local villages and train them on that, so that and show them this aspect of security is everybody's business. That's part of it. When you see those kind of indices, we are having bandits that are snatching people. They will look for food. And like I said, the good thing about local life, everybody knows everybody else. I know what Mr. Kieron comes to buy for his family. I know what you come to buy for your family. So when I see a large number and you are not having a naming ceremony, you are not having a wedding ceremony in your house, that should be a trigger. And the people should be told that when you see this, please report. In all honesty, I saw this in practical application in Addis Ababa while I was working with African Union. If you go to Addis Ababa, especially as a foreigner, and you rent a house in any part of Addis Ababa, before you know it, your neighbors have gone to the police and said that there's one foreigner, they may not even know your country, that has come, he has such and such car. They are so well enlightened on how to put a part. So community participation in security at the local level is very, very important. Which brings me to the self-school initiative. Self-school initiative, if we go back, was started with the former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown, and it was as a result of the wide world uproar following the Chibok abduction. He started it, but unfortunately it didn't go far. It was left. But the good thing that happened is that not only in Nigeria, like I said, in modern conflicts, it is becoming a future that schools or school children are becoming targets. So much so that a lot of countries have started paying attention to that. Nigeria was among the first 35 countries to sit down and discuss about self-school declaration in Norway in 2015. Eventually, I think 2019, the Federal Executive Council sat and discussed about self-school declaration, and Nigeria adopted it. I am aware, in fact, I was part of a group of consultants that designed even a security training manual for Nigerian security agencies on how they can protect schools. But like everything in the country, it's a different thing from having this and then implementing them. Now Nigeria is becoming a hub of school. Right with the Kagara, mind you, we have a record of the highest single abduction, highest number of single abduction. That's a record we don't want. So what we are saying, if you see that what the self-school declaration, which is under there's a global coalition for the protection of education against attack, GCPEA, they have a role. What they say is that protection of school is a multi-stakeholder engagement. Right from the security forces, which is one that comes to Hardening, to school authorities, school owners, PTA, students themselves. That's what they will do. What would the student will do? You have to teach the student that if there's a fire alarm, they should not just be helpless. This may not stop the attack, but when you train students that look, when you hear the gong hitting, it means there's danger. There may be hiding places. You will shout to alert other people. All those kind of things. It may not prevent the man is already, the bad guy is already there, but it prevents this. There should be for schools. One of the things that came during Kagara, 2-3 days after, something with Chibok, we didn't even know what was the number of the children in the school. The first way before you even search, it's good for you to know how many children am I looking for. And you can only do that when schools are trained to have registers of visitors that enter every day, to know at any particular time, to know how many children are there. It makes the work easy of searchers, people who are searching. For many days in these two incidents, we are looking, in fact, until the end, I don't think we really had a definite number of Kagara children. We just worked with this. If they say some people were left in the bush, I'm just being dramatic, but it is not, it will not be out of place because we didn't have. So all these are the things. I'm back to parents. Parents have to ask. Unfortunately, most of us in the elite now, we pay for private schools. If I pay for private school, I should ask the headmaster, what happens? What arrangement do you have in case of abduction? What plan do you have in case of fire? I'm bringing fire because it's not only security, there's also safety issues. When things happen, it's not the time to tell children what to do. You train them before that.
They have drills before the time.
So that safe school project, in fact, that is a requirement for schools, is that they should have a security plan. So some of these things, in all honesty, is not like going to put a battalion. We don't have enough policemen or enough police officers to put there, but you have to leverage the other less expensive aspects. If every school has a security plan, for example, the government that registers schools should make it a requirement for that. The Parents Teachers Association should go and ask, what happens? Today it happens in Kagara. Tomorrow it could be the school where my children are. So what is the school doing? So all these things are there in the Safe School Initiative and Safe School Declaration. The role of every, including community. I will add my weight again to what Ikomo said about what the minister said. Well, maybe sometimes choice of words, and maybe the timing, maybe just after the abduction just when the abduction in Kagara is happening, maybe that's not the time to tell people that they are not doing enough. But the idea behind is a concept in modern security. That is community resilience for crime prevention. The community should, I still have colleagues in the military. When the Kaduna Abuja road became almost impassable and then people were praying that train has come, I was joking with some of my military. I said, look, if I were the chief of army staff, I would say no soldier on official duty that will enter train. They have to follow that Kaduna road. It's part of resilience. Right, so what resilience comes is that you should not just hands up, but maybe but the idea behind is a modern concept in security.
We have to pause you here.
Okay.
Sadiq, thank you indeed for your contribution. This is Good Morning Nigeria on the network service of the NTA. We'll take a short break now. When we return, we shall continue with the conversation. Don't go away.
A new edition of TV Guide is out with special focus on the game changer, His Excellency Governor Abdullahi Sule of Nasarawa State. Broadcasting in a digital economy, Maxwell Logo gives an insight. This edition also features Nancy Naji of AIT, a name synonymous with business. Meet the NCDC boss, Dr. Chikwe Ihekweazu. TV Guide, your indispensable companion, also x-rays the relevance of social media in the modern society. Meet some TV professionals who have impacted their spaces and other inspiring stories in sports, entertainment, and lots more. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
Dialogue, empathy, love, and unity. These are vital components of nation building.
For all to be well, we appeal that we should refrain from volatile, provocative, inciting messages and language.
Let's build and not destroy. Although social media as a channel of communication is inherently harmless, it becomes harmful and damaging when used without discretion and thoughtfulness. Bad social media users spread rumors and fake news without verification. But good social media users stop, reflect, and verify information before sharing it. Be a good social media user. Stop the spread of fake news. Verify the authenticity of your source and use social media responsibly for a better Nigeria. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, in collaboration with the National Orientation Agency.
sharing the spoils in their last meeting, Southampton will be looking to secure all 3 points when they welcome the Blues to St Mary's. This Saturday, it's Southampton versus Chelsea on the Premier League Live, showing on the network service of the NTA from 1:30 p.m. The Premier League Live is brought to you by Axis Bank, Babai Jebu, Lipton, and Close Up, in association with Gold.com.
The broadcast media ecosystem is dynamic and requires continuous training for practitioners to perform optimally. NTA TV College Jos invites relevant officers to the following specially packaged training programs. Intermediate online news reporting skills, date 1st March to 12th March 2021, 2 weeks. Studio lighting indoor and outdoor, date 1st March to 5th March 2021, 1 week. Modern trends in broadcast media marketing, date 15th March to 9th April 2021, 4 weeks. Understanding public service rules and mastering the art of standard minute writing, reports, memoranda, and briefs, date 15th February to 12th March 2021, 4 weeks. The course fee for the 4-week courses is 100,000 naira per participant. The fee for the 2-week course is 80,000 naira, while the course fee for the 1-week course is 40,000 naira only. Accommodation inclusive. Venue for all the courses is the serene and secure environment of NTA TV College near Old Government House, Rayfield, Jos. For more inquiries, please call 0803-314-4383 or 0806-980-9807. NTA TV College, Jos, training you to be the best you want to be.
You're welcome back, and you're still watching Good Morning Nigeria live on NTA's network service. Let's return to our Lagos Network Center, where Aleo Umar Babangida is still waiting. Aleo Umar, let's probably fast forward on securing soft targets in Nigeria. Some persons have argued that part of what we are seeing now in terms of the frequency of abduction and the audacity of the kidnappers or bandits will arise from the fact that ransom is being demanded and that ransom is also being paid. And so there's the argument, if there is any kidnap incident, do not pay any ransom. What are your thoughts on this, against the backdrop that in other jurisdictions that are fairly more sophisticated, when they say no ransom payment, they also have the capacity and capability of ring-fencing the kidnappers or abductors and ultimately putting them out of business? Are we so enabled? And can we also drive the whole idea of saying no ransom payment?
Cannot. And the reason is simple. Whenever we have our children in their hands, we really cannot negotiate from a position of strength. You know, we can't. It's like having your hand in a lion's mouth and then you want to issue threats. He'll just bite. So you are better off massaging his mane or something to get him to gradually release it. But having said that, let me just add to this hardening of soft targets, particularly safer schools, before I say what our law enforcement agencies and the government can do so we don't find ourselves in the first place losing children only to begin to wonder whether we should pay ransom or not. First, for soft school, for safer schools, I recall in 2018 in Lagos here, the Lekki-Ekpe axis where I stay, schools around this place took the heat. Children were being taken from schools, probably because the Ekpe axis was closer to the creeks. And the Lagos state government responded quickly. From my consuls, we were able to contribute our own little bit to private schools who were interested. And that was when I came up with the Safer Schools Security Threat Awareness Module. It's a module that has 3 compartments. One compartment for the children, as the senior officer said, another compartment for the parents, and the 3rd compartment for the teachers. Each module actually of the 3, each of the 3 modules talks to the same situation, but from a different perspective, that is parent, student, and teacher perspectives. And at the end of the day, We brought them all together and even did 2 private schools in Abuja. Now, having done that, we were able to increase that security awareness quotient of the teacher, the parent, and the student, which made the schools a little bit more less attractive to prospective kidnappers. Why did they become less attractive? What we were able to put into these 3 recipients through the 3 modules started bringing out questions, cognitive questions, that impacted on what you could call crime protection through environmental design, just like the senior officer spoke about crime protection through resilience. The environmental design of the school, the protocols in the school, the way of doing things in the schools we impacted changed tremendously. STAM 1, 2, and 3, as I call it, are still very much available for people who are interested. We've tried to reach public schools, but that's a different kettle of fish because the bureaucracy and protocols are many. You have to go through this office, that civil service office, and what have you. We're still on it. Now, talking about our government, if we really want to make our schools a bit more difficult for these bandits to access, then what I have spoken about safer schools security threat awareness modules keys in, but even then, we must take over no man's land. No man's land is what I want to call the fringes and the wilderness where they camp. Taking over no man's land, fast-track approach and long-term approach. Fast-track approach is we must begin to consider shadow and sting operations. Shadow and sting operations cannot spread across the country, but they can put the fear of occupying no man's land in these people. The templates, the methodology for doing that is also something that is available. I have worked on it personally as a hobby and ready to share. The next thing is Nigeria needs to begin to look at reenacting the National Guard. Our armed forces are doing their metal best, yes, but their metal best is not enough because Nigeria has a footprint of some 923,000 square kilometers. If you spread the entire armed forces and police across this place, they wouldn't actually spread evenly and adequately. So we need another multiplier, a force multiplier. This force multiplier could come in form of a National Guard. And the National Guard can key into that vacuum that is causing the agitations for state police and what have you. The National Guard can be accessed by all governors, but does not report to any governor. Today you cannot access the armed forces as a governor. But with the National Guard, as you saw in the United States recently, when things started to happen, the governor of that area, he called out the National Guard. So basically, what we are going to be seeing is going to be twofold. To harden our schools, we must first and foremost be able to impact the awareness levels of our students, our teachers, and the parents. Having done that, you're going to see them naturally begin to ask those questions that will prompt even the education ministries and all the public sector or public office holders who are in relevant positions to begin to do things because there is demand. Today we see complacency and lethargy in the decrepit appearance of our schools because there is no pressure of demand on those who are vested with the responsibilities to see that these things are done. So with security threat awareness modules for safer schools, you will see parents, students, and teachers begin to ask questions that will tend to call the attention of regulators to those areas, and those who do not meet expectations will definitely be called out or actually kicked out, as the case may be. So there is prospect, there is opportunity, there is also what I want to call challenge. What we see these bandits doing is just a pointer to our weaknesses, to those windows that they tend to exploit to get at us and, you know, as the senior officer said, get so much money for very little effort. That indeed is where I feel the real solution, fast-track, low-hanging fruit is at the moment, particularly for my beloved state and Kagara community.
All right, thank you very much, Ali Umar Babangida, for your very useful points. I just wanted to add, Kiran, Ali Umar was talking about the National Guard. One question to then ask is, nearly 30 years later, have we now developed the love for a National Guard? Under the administration of General Ibrahim Babangida, when he was military president, the idea of a National Guard was mooted. But if you recall, the intelligentsia and indeed other stakeholders rose up against the National Guard because it was presumed as a bulwark for him to extend his tenure in perpetuity, which ultimately, following the June 12 crisis, led to the collapse of that idea altogether. Kiran.
Yeah, that's indeed true. And one other aspect of the National Guard was talking about the situation where we have a National Guard that will operate in different states, yet the governors, you know, do not have control of these guards. So they will be taking orders from the headquarters, just like we have the police at the moment in Nigeria, where of course the orders are taken from the headquarters while they operate in states, and giving rise to the issue of ungoverned areas, you know, around the country. But he had a good point there. If National Guard could come on board and a proper structuring, made, of course that will help in ensuring that all those ungoverned parts of the country are governed. I'd like Dr. Ahom to come in here because it does appear...
You keep calling him Ahom. We know that Ahom was vice president. Of course, they are all the same part of Edo State.
Okay, Dr. Ahom, we have resorted to the issue of negotiating bandits in this country. And of course, some negotiations that have taken place is not even working at the moment. We had that of Zamfara, is not working. Now, is there no way that in the forest reserves taken over by bandits, where we've learned that they have built their camps in Zamfara, Katsina, Niger, and perhaps other parts of the country, is there no way that Nigerian military can dislodge the camps and neutralize the bandits? I am talking about a military force that can be structured, well organized, and operationally carried out to face them one-on-one and clear them out of the bush. Is it not a possibility?
Well, thank you, Mr. Kiran. That's a good question. I think certainly the military can move against those guys, but the problem is what are our resourcing? What is the kind of resourcing we have right now in terms of the military? Military is involved in JTF operations in 35 states of the country, and there's nobody you are going to go to and say, let's say you come to Lagos here and say, okay, remove the guys from up Mesa and up Awashi. Let them come and go to Zambiza Forest or to Rugu Forest or Yakuza Forest. They will say, what makes you think that Lagos is not important? So what I'm saying is that our military resources are very stretched thin. And Nigeria has very little, the proportion of military to population is very small in this country. We have roughly a 100,000 man standing army. Whereas a country like Egypt has a 1 million man army, and Egypt is half the population of Nigeria. So you see, our resources, our human resources are very limited, particularly in respect of the military and the police. So that's part of the problem we have. We don't even have enough assets, that is security assets, to throw at the problem. Now, so Mr. Aliu is saying we should look at an NG. Well, sure, you look at an NG, but well, how many man NG are we looking at, first of all? Then if you look at an NG, you better put them under government, state governor control, because we can't have a situation where this mistake we are making right now, this mistake of a unitary security system, security being, that is the coercive forces being under the federal, on the exclusive list alone, we can't have that mistake replicated anymore. Enough of it, because it's not working. That's why Nigerians are being slaughtered right now. So we need to have a security system that is responsive. Okay, right now, we can throw stones at the governor of Niger State and say, look, what are you doing about the rescue of the students in your state? Honorable Kingsley was speaking just now to your correspondent, Abdullahi. I was saying, isn't there a Sariki in that town? And the gentleman said, oh yeah, the Sariki is there, but it's indisposed. So you see, you must bring governance to a lower level so that it can be responsive to the needs of the local community. This national broad stroke system doesn't work. We don't have statistics to prove how well they are doing. So there is no metric, there is no cost effectiveness analysis of what is being done. So we are just working in a vacuum, and we are increasing our budget on a yearly basis, and we are saying we are trying, but our best is not good enough. That's not good enough. I mean, people need service. When there's an attack, when a citizen makes a call, there must be a response, and that response must be credible. But now, back to your question, just 1 second, on the search for the bad guys in the bush, clearing the bush. We need to govern. Captain Umar has just said it. He said that we need to remove no man's land. That is, ungoverned spaces need to be governed. And what needs to happen is, from the state level, you need to appoint agro rangers, like forest guards, who will man these forests. And so these people, we keep talking about intelligence gathering. Who is going to gather the intelligence? It should be people who are out there, and then you have to train them. You have to let them know what to look out for. These are what we call tappies. Like when General Group Captain Sadiq said, when somebody is buying too much bread, you should know that something is wrong. He called threat terrorist attack pre-incident indicators, tappies. So you must look at something that is unusual, that will trigger something that will make the authorities now pay attention and neutralize the threat.
All right, Dr. Onaya Homo, thank you very much. Kirian, we have a number of tweets that have come in. I was just wondering whether Group Captain Sadiq shouldn't respond to the question that you just raised, which has also been answered, as to how to get rid of the bandits in the various camps that they are. And by the way, how do we explain that these bandits have encamped in different states? At the time they were encamping, were we asleep?
If you go back to Nigerian history, thank you very much, the issue raised of forest guards, these were some of the things that the Europeans led for us. And the issue is that these forest guards are virtually camped inside the state. Before a bandit takes over a place, the building of a camp is a gradual process. It's not something that will happen. So those forest guards, if they were there, they will know somebody is intruding. What is his motive? Before, it will start with 1 person, 2 person coming to look what we are clearing. And then now those things are missing. And honestly, like we said again, we have to admit, if you do a comparison of all neighboring countries of similar GDP, of similar size, of similar population, Nigeria is under-resourced. Whether it is in terms of military, whether in terms of police. We have to look at that. I may look at the National Guard, as another element. Maybe even cutting some of the agencies we have to form that National Guard. But Mr. Kieron spoke about the difference with the National Guard should be that state governors should have some control over them where they are. That is exactly what obtains in the US, what people don't understand. The National Guard at every state is the governor of that state is virtually the commander-in-chief. All he needs to trigger the National Guard is to inform the Ministry of Defense, because it is a security thing. Permit me also, please, to an interesting question you asked about whether people should pay ransom or not. This is a very topical debate all over the country, all over the world.
Very quickly.
Yes, so you see, the general consensus is that on the government side, the government should not encourage payment of ransom. But on the individual side, again, where a family has a hostage that is taken, it is very difficult to legislate and say that don't pay ransom when your child or when your daughter is taken. That is
right.
what I wanted to add.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Kinsley, I'm not sure we have time for these tweets, right? We just mentioned the names of...
Yes, that's Suleiman Babagana has a tweet. Titus Mondeno, Chris Simeon, Yaya Wada, Festus Akimboewa, Haruna Adamo. The issues that you have raised have also been addressed by our guests this morning. So we'd like to, on that note, thank all our three guests, Group Captain Sadiq Garba Shehu, who's with us in the Abuja studios. Thanks a lot. From Lagos, we're joined by Ali Oman Babangida, a regular on Good Morning Nigeria. Deep thanks for your insight. And also from Lagos via Zoom, Dr. Ona Ehomo, we appreciate your contributions. So that's it for us on Good Morning Nigeria today. Enjoy your weekend. We're back on Monday, 7 in the morning. I'm Kingsley Osalabo.
And I'm Kieran Umayo. Have a good weekend.